how can you upsell, cross sell, or like say how can you get them to buy your product again, right? It kind of helped me figure out a lot of points when I'm building my own company. So what I would have achieved in like a 2 years if I started off right out of college, I was able to achieve in like say 6-8 months when I was starting out on my own after job experience. So having the whole process laid down very seamlessly is what will help you again achieve the more effective hiring aspect and achieve hiring success.
So we were talking on reading the valid metrics, right, and putting out the invalid ones. Then how does a marketer or how does a business analyst interpret the metrics that okay, if something isn't working, something is wrong, you know that.
Yeah.
But what is wrong and what should be done? How do you figure out that as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So a lot of marketing metrics specifically when you're looking down boils down to the funnel, right? In terms of like a complete funnel. So you need to think about how you can make a funnel as cylindrical as possible. Of course, like cylindrical is not completely possible. You cannot expect every customer who has an interaction with you to convert into a paying customer, but the goal is to see how you can make it as cylindrical as possible. So that's when you break down each funnel step from like a first interaction to when they come to your website or when they come to your app, then how do they interact with you, then comes the conversion in terms of like they buying your product or service, then comes retention, how long do they use your product or service, or do they come back and make the repeat purchase again, right? So when you look at it at this level, you'll get an idea in terms of where you're lacking, right? When the top first segment is not right, then you're not reaching to a bunch of audiences. Then you need to look at how to reach, start more marketing channels, how to add more marketing channels that will help you reach more people, more of your target audience, and then get them into your funnel. If it's the middle of the funnel, then you need to realize in terms of what kind of messaging are you using, what kind of USPs are you presenting to the target audience that will help them intrigued more and get that desire more to buy your product, right? Then other aspects can be in terms of one they bought, then retention, like say how can you upsell, cross sell, or like say how can you get them to buy your product again, right? So these are some of the ways in terms of how you break the whole funnel to figure out where you're lacking and work on each of the thing, right? So only when you break down metrics is when you will and segment metrics is when you'll get you'll understand where you're lacking and what segment or what metric has to be worked upon, right? But you should never look at it at a very overview level, look at only revenue, look at only customers. Only when you slice and dice data is when you will actually figure out where you're lacking and where is the gap for that to be worked upon. So that's one way to look at it. And when I just mentioned in terms of slicing and dicing data, you again need to take one particular metric and slice it and dice it from different angles to see what will work well, right? So when you're looking at funnel itself, right, you could look at funnels from various acquisition channels. Whether you're doing influencer marketing, how is the funnel for that? When you're doing performance marketing, when you're doing SEO, how is the funnel for each of these? If something's very interesting, the funnel is very good, how can you double down on a specific channel? So you need to check different permutation combinations by slicing and dicing the data to actually get insights in terms of what is working well, what is not working well. If something's not working well, how can you find the scope for improvement for that and work on that as your next action steps to iterate and work on it. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's sort of do a real example thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's assume that I'm Kunal Shah, Cred, right? Now I have launched Cred, and I also hired influencers, right? But now that funnel is really small. I gave the sponsorship to Tanmay Bhatt, but now it's not working. So how would I look at it?
So if it's not looking, first you need to analyze why something is not looking working well. Whether is it the kind of messaging, the kind of call to action, or whether the kind of product demo given in the campaign is that something wrong. If not, then next step, right? Like say people after that will take an action step, maybe click on like a description link. Is that good? After they come to the link, is it easy for people to take the action step that you desire, that which you would like to take them? Is that very clear? Again, you could use like a bunch of tools on the website, like say there's Microsoft Clarity, Hotjar, that will help you get a lot of actual user recordings to realize how people are engaging on the website, heat maps of where exactly people are clicking more, interacting more. So these are some ways that you actually have to go through the whole customer journey, assuming that you yourself are that audience who had seen this advertisement campaign. Then what would you think of doing next? If sometimes there'll be some campaigns with no click to action, so you can't one principle I've followed always is to assume that your audience is the most laziest. So if you don't spoon feed them, if you don't give them clear directions, they won't go the extra mile to figure it out themselves, right? There's like a very subset of the audience who wants to go the extra mile, figure it out themselves. You need to give them A, B, C, D steps in order to help them to take the desired action that you'd like them to.
Okay, so we'll sum it up. Okay, so the first thing is, let's say I give some advertisement to Tanmay, okay? If it's not working, the first thing I will see is that is the message clear, right?
Yeah.
Once it's clear, okay, I'll sort it out. Then the other thing is, are people clicking on the description link?
Yeah.
Then I will look at it that, okay, once they are going on the website, is there buttons placed properly? Are there proper maps that, okay, they are finding the way to actually buy it, right?
Yeah.
That's what you are telling, that we need to figure it out step by step. How does a consumer go through the framework of buying the product?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Then, okay, we'll just, divert a bit.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about starting your own company. Because I feel that once that journey, if we hear that journey, we'll get more, your perspective on how you look at things. That can you just tell, okay, that you told that you are working as a marketing manager and all. Then starting your own company, and how did the thought came that, okay, now I should quit the startup, because you are at a good post.
Yeah.
Being one of the early employees is good.
Yeah.
Right? Good. So quitting that and starting. And what were the issues you personally faced in marketing your own startup?
Yeah. So I think honestly for me, it has been like a really great journey, because when I was as a marketing manager, it was really good, and actually I received a bunch of good offers as well from other huge unicorn companies as well to join their team, right? But I think I always had the thing in me to start something of my own. I think right after college itself, I wanted to start something of my own, but it was more from the point that I knew that in a startup journey, there's a lot of figuring outs that you'll have to do. So if I'll have to start up on my own, it'll take me 2 years to do a lot of figuring out to get to a stage where it's well established. So now, because I've been in the whole workplace and like say been in the startup journey before, it kind of helped me figure out a lot of points when I'm building my own company. So what I would have achieved in like a 2 years if I'd started off right out of college, I was able to achieve in like say 6-8 months when I was starting out on my own after job experience. So that was one motivating factor for me to actually work at a startup as a employee and then do my own thing after a certain point of time. And yeah, I think another thing that I also did was I didn't, of course, like as I said, I received a bunch of really great offers, etc. But I stuck to a particular organization for a longer period of time, for almost 2 years. So you need to stay at a particular organization for a good amount of time for you to understand the whole process, for you to understand what it takes to excel at a particular role. If you're switching every 6 months, that's not going to help you at all, because you're again ground zero in 6 months, because it will take you minimum 6 to 8 months for you to understand the whole fundamentals of the role, and post that is when you'll actually start delivering. So that's just another tip that I have for people venturing out. Then for me, actually right after I quit my job was where like say I was still figuring out a bunch of stuff. Then like say it was more from the point where I started as an individual freelancer kind of a thing. Then I started putting out a lot of content on LinkedIn, putting out my experience, putting out my thought processes, etc. So that kind of intrigued a lot of entrepreneurs and reached out to me saying how I can help them in the whole marketing journey. What helped me acquire my first set of clients as well. And yeah, of course, reaching out to your own network, as I mentioned, saying that hey, I started this thing, then telling what value I can add, also helped me get some referrals through the network that I know. So that made the first set of helped me acquire the first set of clients. Then because of this, like say when I was like started out as a freelancer, in almost 3 to 4 months time I had to switch into an agency model because of the inbound request that I got. So that's where like say I was quick enough to have the team, build the processes, etc. to scale it up. So I think so far it's been great. We have figured out like a 0 to 1 journey. Now we are figuring out how to scale this up even further in terms of like a 1 to 5 scale is what we are figuring out, and we are on this journey right now.
Yeah, so I think that being a freelancer gets you money, but I think in long term, it's like in Gujarat we have this one saying that okay, I'll just translate that okay, in a shop when the owner sits there, only then the business is working. When the time he shuts the door, it's closed.
Yeah.
But if you are freelancer, it's sort of that thing. Okay, till that time you yourself is working, you will earn money.
Yeah.
The day you are on a holiday, gone.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so building a company is tough, but it eventually would give you a freedom.
Yeah.
That okay, now my company is set up, everything is working. Maybe I could take a day off. I could also focus on more things. I could focus on growth.
Yeah, correct.
So then switching from, you said that okay, you are doing freelancing, but due to the inbound request, you switched to an agency model.
Yeah.
So switching through an agency model, and now what's your vision for WhitePath? What do you want to make it in, let's say, next 10 years or 20 years, till the time you would have white hair and would be old enough?
Yeah, I think like that switch was quite important for us to make in order for us to scale. And post that, it's as I mentioned, like say we had figured out a 0 to 1 in terms of just having a good client base, in terms of getting more inbounds. Now it's a matter of how we can scale this up sustainability without affecting the quality of service that we provide. So that would essentially mean, as you mentioned, in terms of setting a lot of systems in place, getting the right team members into the play, training them up, getting them up to a place where they can handle things end to end without me being able to involve. So yeah, that is a hard switch to make, especially from like a freelancer to agency model. That's when like say you'll have to actually go against a lot of your belief systems. Like say I personally was a like perfectionist, so I had to let go of things, be okay with sometimes the team making mistakes, but help them realize what mistake they made and help them overcome it on their own was some of the things that I had to do. Then of course like letting go a lot of things and delegating it, because sometimes you'll have the mindset that okay, it'll only take 5 minutes, let me just do it off instead of delegating it. But that's the mindset that you'll have to come about in terms of like say, even if it's going to take half an hour for you to delegate and explain it to your teammate, but long term that's what is going to help you scale up and achieve that scale, right? So these are some mindsets and processes that I was able to overcome, and in terms of like say just figure out some of those pieces that help me make that switch from freelancer to agency. I mean that's one of the hardest switch that most people face in terms of like achieving that freelancer to agency model. And most people stagnate after a certain point where you can't grow beyond a certain scale, but that's where like is where the top agencies stand out in terms of just unlocking that potential after a certain point. So because in the services sector, just of course after the COVID boom, a lot of people are open to just remote help, remote talent, but barrier to entry is low. Anybody could start into freelancing, but achieving that scale and achieving that growth is what only a few will figure out. So yeah, that's the journey we are at. And yeah, I think like say 10 years down the lane, of course, yeah, we are mainly focusing on performance marketing, SEO, mainly on the user acquisition channels right now. We want to dabble down into more sort of services, into retention, into content creation, etc. So the goal is to add a lot more verticals and scale this up sustainably. And yeah, of course, the goal is also to make this company run without me being very founder led, without me having to handle into day-to-day operations. So yeah, the goal is to make it scale sustainably.
Nice. I think the point you mentioned, right, delegation, it's really important because the thing we also face the same. Just small things like, let's say, making a thumbnail, we would just delegate to people and we would like, no, don't make, we will make because we don't like your designs. I think that are the small things we need to be comfortable with if we want to grow. Because if I am doing everything, I would be only doing that for, let's say, next 10 years. I would not be able to think about growth. That's nice. We'll talk about the operations of everything. Like, let's say from you switched to agency, right? There were many problems. We'll talk about hiring, training, proper way of delegation. Because what I feel is that till you are in the journey of 0 to 1, you are the marketing guy, you are the business guy, you are the sweeper sometimes in the office, you do everything. And once that one journey is figured out, you start delegating. But how to delegate, how to find proper people who are eligible for that responsibility. We'll talk about that.
So in terms of hiring, of course, like if you're a services company, you're a people company, which essentially means your output is dependent on the kind of people that you have, right? So people does play a pivotal role and an instrumental role for any company's growth. In general, not for services, I say, I mean, in general, every company depends a lot on the kind of people that they have, right? So first is for you, when you're hiring, is for you to have a clear idea in terms of who you feel is the right hire. Jot down points in terms of like who is the right, what's the skill set that they need to have, what are some of the qualities as a person that they need to have, what are the other aspects that will make them a culturally a fit for the company. So these are some pieces that you need to clearly have it jot down. And then it's about reaching out, like say using acquisition channels like a LinkedIn Jobs or Naukri, etc., to then filter out, right? Then also is when you need to have a clear system of when a candidate comes in, what is the whole process, like a first interview, then they make it to the first interview, then a second interview. So having the whole process laid down very seamlessly is what will help you again achieve the more effective hiring aspect and achieve hiring success.
Defining SOPs for everything, right? You don't have to think then. If one process is set, you need to lay off an SOP. It would take time, but once it's there, then anyone could do it easily. That's what you're saying, right?
First aspect is SOPs. So SOPs would just involve you just jotting down everything that you know about the process into a document, right? Like just being very descriptive. Then you try to formulate those descriptive into pointers and make it as a checklist. Then next step is to think in terms of how you can actually convert that whole SOP into tech, right? Like say, can you achieve that using tech or like spreadsheets? So which will help you streamline and make the whole process more effective, where tech will be a guidance factor, supporting factor that will help you the more effectiveness of the whole process.
Yeah. We'll take another break now.